Now we're in trouble.
There it is.
There we go. Okay, Sandos, we're on.
Great. So if you can see this, our Title 8, which is our referencing to building code, even though we don't have a building official, should we have one, we feel it's important to update these references. You'll see that they still reference the 2003 International Building Code. And what we'd like permission from council is to move forward with updated language that New Mexico Construction Industries Division has adopted. They're now using the 2023 codes. Since 2003, there's an international commercial energy, commercial building, and commercial energy conservation code that we'd like council to consider. In addition, there's also a reference to a new electrical code that we didn't reference in our ordinance. And so this is really just a request to call forward our updates and language for building and for building codes.
Any questions or discussion? Mayor Pro Tem, if you would make the motion.
I make a motion to approve to proceed with changes to Title 8 ordinance.
Second.
Roll call vote on item D. Mayor Pro Tem Howell,
Aye.
Councilor Humbert,
Aye.
Councilor Crane,
Aye.
pass.
Move on to item E, I'd like to open discussion to approve, proceed with changes to Title 9 ordinance. Mr. Martinez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This has been an ongoing conversation we've had on some amendments to our existing codes with respect to lot widths, building heights, just trying to get things to match to provide more flexibility on townhome development or different housing options. And again, trying to have development occur where we do have public water, public sewer availability. In addition to that, Mr. Mayor, and it's hard to see if Councilmember Weeks is available, but when you served on the Planning and Zoning Commission, there was a conversation 3 years ago about amending our wireless telecommunication ordinances. Those recommendations were not forwarded to council within 180 days. And so this is a consideration to actually bring formal action. Some of the highlights is there's no provision in our code to allow for the repair or temporary service of wireless telecommunications in the event that one of the towers is down or does need to be repaired. There isn't language in our code today that allows for mobile cellular services that could be enacted or parked on property to help boost service for events. That's included in this language. It also opens up the allowable zoning districts for cell towers. Right now, there's only 2 zoning districts that they're allowed, and they're in the valley. They're not at higher elevations. And so it still requires a conditional use permit, but it provides more flexibility for consideration on property. And then lastly, there was conversations on the cannabis ordinance to allow a manufacturing component. There were a lot of concerns when this ordinance was originally considered that due to water rights and the term manufacturing to really limit or prohibit that activity. It's come to our knowledge that the state of New Mexico classifies manufacturing as repackaging, relabeling of cannabis. And what we've done deliberately is just taken the activities that are considered as manufacturing, and we have not included any of the processing where you can convert cannabis into an edible product, whether it's cookies or gummies, where there's a concern that there could be water usage that we just can't account for. So everything that's proposed on the manufacturing is really for relabeling, repackaging, testing. We also limited the amount of extraction so that you can't include highly combustible chemicals. It's really limited to a hot plate type of press for oils to really make sure that it's limited in scope. Again, it's still only allowed by conditional use permit in the same zoning districts that cannabis retail is permitted. And it must be in an enclosed facility. And depending where it is in the overlay, there are buffers with the residential zoning districts or residential uses. Stand for any questions you may have.
I have a question, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Santos on page 1, about 2/3 of the way down, paragraph 9-10C-4, development standards. It reads minimum front lot width, 100 feet. Lots with a 20% slope or greater shall have a minimum width of 200 feet. Is the 100 feet depth, or I don't quite understand that sentence.
So we have different provisions in our code with respect to slopes on what the minimum lot width in the front should be to accommodate drive approaches and the development of that lot. And so that's where that is referencing. It's my understanding, I don't think we proposed any changes for slopes with large slopes, but if it did have a significant slope, but it did have access to public water, public sewer, all we were proposing is that the minimum lot width standards wouldn't apply because it's of its proximity. We still have to make sure that the drive approach still is still in compliance with those design standards, but those properties that have minimum lot widths that someone wants to develop with a townhome and then replat for townhome, townhomes aren't 100 feet wide. In some instances, there are other provisions of the code that calls not for just minimum lot sizes, but lot widths. And so what we're trying to do is accommodate in the event that a townhome product is being developed and going to be platted, that there's some flexibility in it, but it won't take away from the slope requirements for drive approaches. That's in a different section.
One further question. On the next page and subsequent pages, the term guys, G-U-Y, is used. Does that mean, is that like the wires that hold up the antenna, or what is that?
On the wireless communication, that would be correct. If that's where it's being referenced, that's the section it would apply to.
Thanks.
Any further questions or discussion? Mayor Pro Tem, you make a motion.
Make a motion to approve to proceed with changes to Title IX ordinance.
Second.
Roll call vote on item E, Mayor Pro Tem Howe,
Aye.
Councilor Humbert,
Aye.
Councilor Crane,
Aye.
pass.
Moving on to item F, I'd like to open discussion. Approve resolution 2024-70 to amend street and thoroughfare map. Mr. Martinez?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've hoping to share my screen if you can see this. This is our existing thoroughfare plan that was created in 2004. And you'll notice, and I can zoom in, there were some proposed collectors from Armijo Road to connect to Highway 64 with some additional connections in between. There was also a proposal for a collector coming off 64 on the backside of the mountain, coming through county property to connect with Buckskin. And P&Z has made a recommendation to amend those collectors from being developed. And so everything in yellow which was proposed as a future collector would be removed from the map. There was actually an additional proposal to connect the community center with Buckskin. And I just don't know how realistic that would actually be with the property owners that are around the community center to agree to a new collector to connect CS Road to Buckskin. And so the only item that P&Z had is this section right here. If you can see, it's highlighted in yellow and circled in red, of a proposed collector that would connect Camino Grande to the end of Buckskin to provide a loop. They had recommended that, that was the only part where they said it's really at discretion of council to remove that from the thoroughfare map. But all the other sections identified in yellow, they recommended to be removed. This has actually come up from the owner of the Grand, who would like to have Crestview Drive rededicated to the village, but subject to amendments to this thoroughfare map. because the idea was that in 2004, heavy trucks would come off 64, go through the RV park, go through the Girl Scout Ranch, come here, and then get to 434 rather than just coming straight down 434. We just don't see that being realistic to even construct this road. Unfortunately, our map has never been amended to reflect that. And so this has two parts. I think it brings us up to current planning thoughts of how roads should be laid out for new collectors, but also there's the potential of actually accepting Crestview into city inventory. It still has to be in compliance with all of our standards, but this was one of the conditions for consideration is this amendment to this map. Staff, any questions you may have?
I have one question, Santos. Is Crestview currently wide enough to be accepted by the village?
I believe the right-of-way dedications are there, but again, we would still have to do an inspection to verify that it should be considered for acceptance. The initial thought is that it is. We also know that there's a public infrastructure in Crestview as well. We have to make sure that that's applicable to our ability to accept that it's at the right size as well. This is just the start of the conversation. We still have to make that investigation.
Thank you.
No further questions or discussion, Mayor Pro Tem Wright, you make a motion.
I make a motion to approve resolution 2024-70 to amend street and thoroughfare map.
Second.
Roll call vote on item F. Mayor Pro Tem Howell,
Aye.
Counselor Humbert,
Aye.
Counselor Crane,
Aye.
pass.
Moving on to item G, I'd like to open discussion to approve resolution 2024-71 to propose access and utility easement for lot 33. Mr. Martinez.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This request is for the property that's right on the corner of CS Road, CS Ranch Road, on your way to the community center. This request has been amended from its original request. Originally, everything hatched out here was being proposed for an access easement. It's been modified to just the area in between the blue lines. And to give you some better perspective of where this is, I'd like to, a representative from the resort had called out asking where this actually was. And I can understand now that better the confusion. This is CS Ranch Road, but according to Google, it's Halo Pine Terrace, which is nowhere close to what it is actually. But the proposed easement would be roughly in this area. We've had improvements by Public Works and Streets for storm drainage right here on this portion of the ditch. And so it's recommended with this exhibit that it would be on the north side of that. So there would not be a need to install a culvert. The property owner to the east has an access approach right off of CS Ranch Road. This property owner is asking for something similar, but unfortunately there would need to be an easement because the village owns this property. And just to note, this easement would run with the land should the village choose to do something different with this property. Stand for any questions you may have.
Mr. Martinez, I have some, if you want to pull the map back up.
Sure.
But I understand there's still access from Valley Road.
That's correct.
And I understand the reason for the request is because of the improvements drainage project, I should say, that was just recently performed this summer.
Mr. Mayor, you're correct. This property owner still has frontage on Valley and still has more frontage on CS Ranch Road. I do agree that we would probably deny a drive approach in this section because of the improvements we've made for storm drain, but that doesn't preclude the property owner from requesting a drive approach along their frontage on Valley.
Is there any reason that they couldn't access the property from Valley?
I know that there's a ditch and there's a utility pedestal, but we have other properties in the village that have comparable situations.
There's also approximately a 6 foot rise there, that if you put a driveway in there, you're gonna drain all that acreage right there into that street where you just improved it.
Well,
Drains there anyway.
that I think would be here.
Flood that driveway.
so I guess,
It
did
doesn't,
this
it,
go before P and Z?
it did go before P and Z. P and Z recommended a favorable recommendation because the easement had been modified to be smaller. It wasn't the original request. But to your question, this frontage doesn't preclude the property owner, rather than making a straight cut drive approach, to come in at an angle to get into the property. But I do think the village would be reluctant to have a drive approach installed in this zone where we just made all these improvements for storm drain.
Is there a way to see, and I know you don't have it on there, but the lot in question is the one on the corner there. As you continue up to the west, Valley Road, you come out of that hole, yeah, right there, as you continue up. Yes, Kevin Rickinson is right, it is steep right there, but as you continue moving west, it is far less so, as you can see.
Yeah, the only that did come up. It's just, I think this part here, where it's relatively flat, that's outside the width of this lot. But you're right. As you move away from the intersection, the slope does diminish. To exactly where it's, well, you can't, I can't see a stake on Google Street View. But I do know, just this is completely different on the south side of the lot, as opposed to coming around to CS Ranch Road. I mean, this is substantial slope, and the investment that the village has made to address stormwater,
So that photograph, I'm sorry to interrupt, that was before the work was done.
That's correct.
So
This
they
does not.
purchased this lot when it looked like that.
That's correct.
And so they had uphill challenges on either side, regardless of an easement.
But correct me if I'm wrong, if this easement is granted, their driveway access to their lot would be through the playground parking lot. Is that correct?
It's gonna be through a portion of it, correct. It's not as much as what the original request was, but yes, the access would go through a portion of the parking lot, roughly in this area.
I mean, I can see one challenge there, if that's connected to that parking lot, I suspect we'll have people who will try to use that as an entry or exit to the playground parking lot. How does the owner feel about that?
I didn't get any feedback from the owner about it.
Mr. Mayor, council, I will tell you that, the director of Parks and Recreation is in opposition to this, and so is the manager's office.
Yeah, I guess, I'm struggling to see the hardship, myself.
Pardon?
The hardship, I'm struggling to recognize the hardship.
Right. I think, particularly without seeing where the access is on the west side of that lot, it's hard to tell from this site plan we have here, but I'm in agreement, unless it can be demonstrated that access from Valley is impossible due to the width of the lot there. This seems like a pretty big ask.
And I assume they're asking for this easement, not wanting to purchase an easement.
Correct. They're asking for an easement. From my perspective, I have seen municipalities ask for either a license fee or something in addition to this easement, but none of that's included with this request. Unless it's a consideration the council would like to consider, and you want us to investigate those options and hold this case to flesh that out if you feel that's necessary.
One other thing, I don't think that, Mr. Martinez said, but if this actually crosses an existing easement, that CS Ranch has, going, all the way across I guess that's kind of the south end of the property, there. So they'll be crossing the CS Ranch easement that already exists, and they'll be crossing a portion of our parking lot, for our brand new playground that we're installing.
Well, I would say too, that we had even discussed approaching CS Ranch to vacate that easement. There's not really a realistic scenario where they would use that easement, currently, so I don't know if we were considering vacating an easement, why we would allow another.
And there's also a power line easement there as well.
Mr. Mayor, I just put back up on the screen, you know, there is that easement that Manager Weir talked about. It's this livestock and logging truck easement that does run, you know, east to west. And this easement would enter a portion of that. Again, it's not as great as the original request, but there still is a portion of it that does come in. There is a utility easement that's gonna get this triangle piece of it. And then from here going back out, it's within that ingress egress easement to CS Ranch.
There's no further discussion or questions. Mayor Pro Tem, if you'd like to make a motion.
I make a motion to approve resolution 2024-71 to propose access and utility easement for lot 33.
Give a second. If there's no second, there's no motion. Second. Okay.
Okay, we'll do a roll call vote on item G. Mayor Pro Tem Howell,
Nay.
Counselor Humbert,
Nay.
Counselor Crane,
No.
fail.
Okay, moving on to our final item.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Item H, I'd like to open discussion to approve projects for capital appropriation. Julie?
Mr. Mayor, Council Manager, and Clerk. Before you, you have some, ICIP projects that were, listed and decided upon in August. The capital appropriations portal and the capital appropriations is where you, lobby your legislators for, funding. You can lobby the legislators and also the mayor, or the governor for, capital appropriation funding. Normally that, that portal opens October 17th that opens, it closes, December 13th. From the council, I will need to know what, capital appropriations you want to apply for. Normally, it's the top 3 projects, but I can put projects you want me to apply for.
I think the top 3 that are listed here are appropriate.
I think the top one is definitely appropriate.
The only one I might change, I agree, the top 2 are easily, but should number 3 and number 4 change positions?
And again, Juliet, my understanding is they look hard at item 1
If I submit that, yes.
and then 3, yeah. So I understand. I mean, you have to identify the top 3,
Mhm.
but the first one is what we're pushing forward to.
Most likely, yeah.
Okay,
It looks good if you already have some funding, like the village has buy-in, we already have some funding in place for a project. Capital appropriations never funds a total project usually. You'll get a portion, so they want you to go for capital appropriations, they want you to go for a grant or something to supplement that. They want you to have skin in the game, what's the village putting up. So you have multiple funding sources to complete that pie for your project. It's never just one funding source is gonna give you the whole amount for your projects.
and I would argue that, 1 and 2, yes, number 3 for me would be street and drainage improvements.
So, Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yes, sir.
I don't disagree with the importance of the street and drainage improvements. The reason it's further down the list is because we have more funds available to expend there. As far as in comparison to the scope of the project. That is part of the consideration for the order of these.
Is there some clarification on the transfer station renovation versus fire station one? I'm not sure what the scope of work is. I know what the fire station scope of work is, or roughly, but the transfer station renovations.
Well, I think when the committee put together this and presented this to council, at the time, we weren't as far along in fire station one as we are now. It didn't seem imminent like it does now. And the transfer station restoration has been on the ICIP for a very long period of time, and it's been lower down the list. And I think if I remember correctly, Julie, correct me if I'm wrong, we kind of said it's time to work on that, and we moved it up in priority because how long it's been there.
From my
And
understanding,
there's also employee safety issues revolving around the transfer station.
Okay.
Sorry.
so whatever, recommendation gentlemen would like to offer, that's what I will submit to, the state. If you wanted to wait another council meeting, that's fine, because it opens up on the 17th, so we have time. I'm just giving this to you if however you guys want to proceed.
And I'm prepared to ask, Mayor Pro Tem to make a motion based on the document in front of us.
I make a motion to approve projects for capital appropriation as listed on the ICIP.
Second.
Roll call vote on item H. Mayor Pro Tem Howell,
Aye.
Councilor Humphrey,
Aye.
Councilor Crane.
Aye.
Pass.
Thank you, John.
Thank you. That concludes our agenda item. Now, finally, our manager's report. Weir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. I'll try to keep this real quick. Unfortunately, Director Ralph was not able to attend tonight, but he has made significant progress on the event center at Liberty Square. He's spoken to both architects and landscaping architects to pull together information that we'll be bringing to you hopefully within the next month on trying to start the implementation of a temporary event center for the probably next 2 years. And then at the end of that period, we hope to have the brand new event center fully developed in about 2 years. So that's going to be part of the plan that we'll be presenting. You should look forward to that coming. We did participate with the county and the resort in a letter to the Department of Health to try and fast track the approval of the old FA1 at the resort, or the FA1 at the resort to be certified as a urgent care center, which is going to be an important certification for us to actually get the South Central Colfax County Hospital District to be able to then supply staff for that. And the resort has been working very closely with the hospital district on reopening FA1 as a urgent care facility managed by the South Central Colfax County Hospital District. So that's in the works. I hope in our next meeting to have the new employee ordinance in front of you guys for permission to proceed. We've done a lot of work on that, and I think it's close. There's some just fine tuning we need legal counsel to do. I will tell you, we initiated our management training course. 10 of our managers participated in the first of 8 classes. last week, and, I think we're off to a good start. And, I will tell you that our guys, we have a great crew and we've been working together as a team. I think a great example is, Director Epler with Chief Vance working together on, the movement of equipment, trying to decide, move things around to what's best for the village, not so much what's best for their departments. But this teamwork training, I think, will be key to the longevity of our team and the ability to retain employees in a healthy work environment. And that's all I have.
One comment just real quickly for Director Epler, if we're gonna have a meeting next week, I fully support change order, keep the trucks moving, but Friday's bad for me, so I don't know what these other guys have.
But we'd like to do it on Monday if people are available. Monday's bad for me. So we just need to get.
Monday's bad for Kurt. Tuesday, regular council meeting time.
Tuesday, 5:30 works for me.
I think workforce housing already has that slot taken.
No, we're Monday.
Um,
We're October 15th, is that Tuesday?
Tuesday's the 15th.
Oh,
What time are you?
We are 4:00.
5:30.
Right? Well, then I don't have, I'll have to pull it. Rocky, do you have the calendar there? Okay.
Let's shoot for Tuesday at 5.
I can do Monday, it's just it is a holiday.
Oh, yeah, Monday's a holiday. We won't be open on Monday, I forgot. Monday's out.
Tuesday, 5.
You're saying you're 5:30?
Yeah, and if,
It'll be quick.
Quick.
and if you, I mean.
We'll have a quick meeting.
Tuesday, 5:30 special,
Tuesday at 5.
or 5.
Thank you for, I didn't have that right calendar, so.
All right. With that, this meeting is adjourned.